Within the past couple of months, cases of landslides was reported by the local news, which took place at 6 different locations in Cameron Islands. What did they have in common? According to the officers on duty, heavy rain occurred in each time of events. You might think that we need to remove the soil and build retaining structure. Well, you're right. However, as heavy rainfall occur in future, more slopes will fail, and the process will continuously repeat unless the root cause of this problem is addressed. This is where I come in. Assalamualaikum and good morning. I am Muhammad Danish, and today I will present about a preliminary study on the moisture content of granitic soil on slope at Kampung Raja, Cameron Islands, Pahang, Malaysia. We need to look at ways to avoid landslide from happening, which were the result of reducing strength of granitic soil in case of heavy rainfall. We need to study the property of soil that exhibits this behavior. The triggering factor of rainfall-induced landslide was the infiltration of rainwater runoff. The objectives of my study is to collect soil samples at a slope where previously landslide had occurred, label them, and analyze their moisture content. The methodology was divided into 3 stages. The first stage was collecting soil samples. 2 weeks ago, 10 samples were taken from the site located at Kampung Raja between the route from Simpang Pulai to Cameron Islands. I used garden trowel and dug about 0.2 to 0.5 meter deep to collect the granitic soil and then place them in plastics. The next stage was labeling sample details. For each samples collected, the weight was measured using an electronic balance. The sample was labeled according to the number sequence, weight, date, and time. Temperature of surrounding and coordinates for each samples were also taken by utilizing Google Maps and weather application on smartphones. The samples inside those plastics were placed inside a polystyrene box to be transported to laboratory. The last stage was analyzing moisture content using oven dry method with accordance with British Standard 1337 Part 2, 1990 Clause 3.2. Since there were 10 soil samples, 10 containers were used, one for each samples. The containers were labeled and weighted separately as weight of container M1. Soil samples are placed into respective containers and weighted as weight of wet soil plus container M2. All these containers were placed in an oven set at 105 degrees Celsius for 24 hours. Then the samples and containers were weighted as weight of dry soil plus containers M3. So I take sample 1 for example. So by using the moisture content formula, the moisture content for sample 1 obtained was 24.82. So these results were tabulated as follows. So due to the recent restriction orders by the government, out of the 10 samples, these were the only results I was able to achieve. So based on those results, these figures were obtained. In order to evaluate my findings, I verify the results with an existing model of soil water characteristic curve (SWCC) for granitic residual soil grade 6 by B.A. Hadi in 2017. To simply explain the graph, strength of soil increases as the water content increases until it reaches a maximum strength, where in this case, when water content is 24.2%. Adding more water into the soil will cause the soil to lose its strength. So based on my findings, the lowest moisture content of the soil I obtained was 24.82, which already exceeded the maximum amount of water content for maximum soil strength. That means the soil were getting weaker. So the past 2 weeks, I was actually standing on a slope which possessed risk for a landslide. But in the end, I came to a conclusion that I was able to gather soil samples on an area where previously landslide had occurred. I also managed to categorize each samples with the help of today's gadget, especially for measuring the coordinates and temperatures. And finally, I can conclude that the granitic soil at the slope site holds a risk for failure. In future, it is advised to utilize proper tools for collecting samples for more precise data. It is also advised that better equipment is required in order to get more accurate details, mainly for labeling. I would also like to highlight that study on shear strength is very crucial nowadays. With landslides, cases keep happening around the world, especially in tourist attraction spots like Cameron Highlands. I am sure we all have a bit of insecurity the next time we be having a vacation there. Well, that is all from me. I apologize I cannot attend this session as this is actually a pre-recorded video of my presentation. I apologize if there was any flaws from my side. This is actually my first semester in doing my postgraduates here in UITM Pulau Pinang. I just started doing this research in less than a month ago. So I hope everyone can support me in future. If there's any comments or questions or any suggestions that you would like to add, do not hesitate on contacting me through my email or my WhatsApp. Your feedback would be much appreciated. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum.